Hey ho yo. You see, things are starting to take shape. Those are the hangings, they're done now. Very happy with them. This is what I did now. Also happy with that. This is because this is the kitchen. You see, it's all very, very, very simple. And I fixed it just with needles because I don't want the smell of the food to go all the way in there. Now I want to show you, because some of you, they're probably lazy cookers. And I want to show you how simple it is, right? How easy you can cook something. You don't need a lot. Like even some of the things that I'm using now. You don't need them. Wow. But I'm using them anyway. So this is ginger root. This is cumin seeds. Yeah. I will eat beans tonight. This is white giant beans. This is a wooden spoon. This is coconut fat. Now this I should probably put a bit down. These are, guess, onions. And this is garlic granulate. If that's a word, right? It's not garlic flour and it's not fresh garlic. It's dried garlic. That for me at the moment was the best option. Why? Well, very simple. Because I can store it without worrying about it going bad or something, right? So now, I don't have to show you everything. I can do it like this, but I also don't want the fat. This is now coconut fat, just so you know. And that you also say, right, it's like, I've been worrying, because I've been wondering whether or not I should, this is a mortar and a pestle, I think that's how it's called. This is now the cumin, because when you're eating beans and onions, it's advisable to put cumin. Fresh cumin is much better. You can also chew it. I sometimes, once I did that. And I'm just gonna put that already in there. I'm actually not sure if it destroys the etherical oils that help with digestion, but I think it's all right. Okay, now I take an onion. So for anyone who thinks that cooking is really hard, you don't need this chopping board. You don't even need a plate or a table, as you can see. I'm just sitting on the ground. I have no kitchen. Yeah, this is my running water. I just put something on there so that it works. This is very simplistic. So anyone who wants to tell me that he can't cook, You don't have to be a 5-star chef to make a simple meal. And this is simple, this is healthy. All you need is canned beans or canned chickpeas. And some kind of fat. I'm using coconut fat. You could use something else. And then what do? You know, I try to put this a little bit lower. Because at the moment I've got nothing else in there than fat and cumin seeds. In fact, I will already add the garlic. Right, I like garlic. And I also don't mind the garlic. Yeah, see, I have to take that off. Because now it's already a little bit burned. Which tells you something about cooking. Fat gets quite hot. Just hear something about temperatures. Water, when you boil water, it starts evaporating at about 100 degrees Celsius. So if you do a water bath, which is a bain-marie, it means that you take water, put it into a pot, put it into a pot, and then you add, let's say, a bowl. Usually it's metal, it can also be glass, and you would use the water bath to either, you can use it to melt butter, a bain-marie, yeah, that's the French term, or water bath. You can also use it to melt chocolate for desserts or something. Or you can use it to make cannabis butter. Because in this way you make sure that the fat does not go higher than 100 degrees Celsius, because at 100 degrees Celsius the water starts evaporating, which means water that is hotter than 100 degrees turns into vapor and leaves. So the excess heat, it's like almost when you bring water to a boil, it starts sweating. It's like your body, right? You know, that makes sense, right? And you can use that for certain techniques of cooking, such as, right, if you want to make cannabis butter, which I cannot recommend, but it can be used as a remedy for insomnia. Some people say it helps also as a relaxant. But yeah, you have to, of course, look out for the dosage a little. Now you see that starts sizzling right away. Like fat gets up to 400, 500 degrees. Fat can start burning, which is something water doesn't do. So also if you put in fat and you heat it really up a lot and then you pour on water, yeah, you just have to be a little bit careful, because we're working here with temperatures, high temperatures, right? Now the only thing that's in there is garlic. Yeah, that burned already a little. Although I have the temperature quite low, to be honest. But this stove isn't really functioning that well. It's very old. So what I like to work with is more gas, but at the moment I don't have anything else, so I'm just working with what I have available, and that is what I have available. So I also don't really have money yet, so I'm just living from what my mother bought me and what I brought from home today when I carried my stuff here. And this is the first cooking video that I've done in a while, because I said I don't really want to cook in my parents' kitchen. Yeah, I just had my own reasons for this. Now I don't have salt, but I do have vegetable stock cubes, and that works perfectly for my purpose. Because what I'm gonna do now, because these things always have this, how is it called? Alfalfa? I'm not quite, no, that's sprouts, I said that again. There is a certain name to the water in this, because it contains a lot of protein, and you can actually use it with you can make mayonnaise out of this water. If you use it with oil, if you take, we're talking about parts here, right? 2 parts of oil and 1 part of this, you can make mayonnaise. And then you can add garlic, you can add, avo, you can add whatever you want, basically. Yeah, and this is vegetable stock. So this is just to give it more taste, to make it a little salty. I want to have 1 more onion in there. So this is a very simple meal that you can cook for yourself. This meal is ketogenic, which is also good in general, because what does ketogenic say? It says that you train your body to start digesting more like fats and vegetables, rather than sugar and flour things, right? We say carbohydrates, but yeah, I mean, if you boil it down, there's like carbohydrates in anything, right? You can caramelize an onion and then it gets a sweet taste. Carrots have sugar in it. So what ketogenic means is it's basically more a wholesome kind of diet. You don't have to be overly strict with it, but this is the kind of diet, if it's like vegan or vegetarian ketogenic, this is the kind of diet that can help with depression. Because what a lot of people fail to understand is the connection of diet and depression. Because if you eat a lot of flour and gluten, this goes into your colon, because there is a lot of small particles. Your body cannot really digest that. And gluten it's gluten. It's gluten. It's really sticky, right? And your body has a really hard time to digest that. And when you eat that, it basically clogs up your entire colon. There's not really a lot going on in there. It's also not really that important. But, so I'm mostly eating now, I sometimes do eat oats, but I'm trying to stay away from that, because they also have gluten in them, and I feel like they also make me really bloaty. And they don't have a lot of nutrients. Whatever they say on the package, whatever people tell you, trust your own feeling. Sometimes I've eaten oats for weeks on end. And if they would have all the nutrients that they say they have, then I should have been fine. But I always got to a point where I realized I feel dead after a while. Oats are dead. It's like eating sawdust. There's nothing in oats that you really need. They're just something that stuff you and keep you through the day, right? For that, they're really good. I mean, if you want to go hiking, but even if you go hiking, it's better to eat something like this, because this is lighter food. This is light food. Light food. Even though there's like beans and stuff, but it's a different kind of food. But what you never should underestimate is the time it takes for your body to get used to a new kind of diet. Because if you would start today and you would say, okay, I will stop eating sugar, I will stop drinking coffee, I will start drinking green tea now, I will cook like this, right? I will eat beans, I will eat ginger, I will eat garlic, I will eat olives, I will eat lentils, brown or red or green lentils, whatever. I will make like dals and curries and not too much rice, not too many potatoes because they contain a lot of starch. Right, I will go more on plant-based protein, which I find in chickpeas, which I find in beans. Right, I will start using herbs and spices such as cumin. These things all detox the body. And they start cleansing you from all the fungi that you have in your system at the moment, because you've probably been overeating on these kind of short carbohydrates, which you find in flour and all the wheats and grains, such as wheat and rye and spelt as well. Also rice and sugar, because this kind of diet grows fungi in your body. And a fungus, right, if you have problems with herpes, if you have problems with stuff like eczema, this is all diet related. No matter what doctors tell you, I'm not a healthcare official or something, but I'm telling you, I've had a lot of struggles with going to doctors and asking them for health problems, and they never could advise me at all on topics like diet. All they talk about is vaccinations, all they talk about is all kinds of things, but they never come around and say, hey, how are you eating, right? I've had a doctor, after they've tested me for years on why I had heartburn, the last thing the doctor said to me was, maybe you should eat less cake. Like, he had nothing else for me. Like, he could have told me, this is how you should change your diet. I then went to a nutritionist who checked me and who said, oh wow, your body is full of toxins, your body is full of heavy metals. Some of these heavy metals, he said, came from vaccinations. Because however good people say vaccinations are, right, I can't really say anything about that, but what I can say is that there are a lot of heavy metals in the substances of vaccinations, and that these have a very immense effect on health. And if these things accumulate because the body can't really get rid of them, because they are heavy metals, and we're talking about, I don't know, maybe, I don't quite know. Plus, there's aluminium in cans, which is all stuff that accumulates over time in the body. Now this is ginger, fresh ginger, which you probably know already, but I'm just saying it anyway. And now if you start cleansing, right, and you think, oh yeah, I'm going to change my diet and tomorrow I'm going to feel really good because today I ate a lot of garlic and it's going to change my life. Well, what you have to prepare for is that you're going to have symptoms of cleansing. Now, what kind of symptoms may these be? Headaches, diarrhea, stomach cramps, right? Some people, when they drink green tea, because green tea is antifungal, they may have symptoms like stomach cramps or diarrhea. But this is a normal process. Anybody who knows anything about diet cannot really argue against that. Well, all you have to do is take care and make sure that you don't kill yourself, because we're living in times where it's all about self-responsibility. And if I would make this meal for you after you've eaten the standard Western diet, you would probably have stomach cramps. You may even start sweating. You'd most definitely have diarrhea. And you may even think this is very disgusting. So this kind of diet also takes time to get used to it. Now, I can eat this for breakfast. This took me a while to get used to it, to even allow the idea into my mind to eat something like this for breakfast. But in India, this is more or less normal. In other countries, this is more or less normal, where you simply eat for breakfast what you had for dinner, right? Here there are all these foods that we're trying to eat. You have bread, and then you want to eat oats for breakfast, and then you want to eat something else, and a lot of bread. But bread has yeast in it, and yeast is basically a fungus. Yeah? And the fungus grows through your entire body. It starts in the colon, and then it starts growing through the body, and it can even reach your brain. And once it's there, it can make your choices for what you eat. So when you start to say, hey, I want to change my diet, I want to lead a more healthy life because I'm depressed, and you start eating food like this, you're going to struggle. And I'm just going to make a prediction so that you know what's coming for you. Right? I'm just going to put it all in, because I want it to be more like soup. Yeah, it won't really be a soup, but I could make it one just by adding a bit more water. So you may think, what's going on? I mean, he said this was supposed to be healthy, and here I am sitting on the toilet shitting myself. Yeah, and it's like diarrhea, it's like really weird. I've warned you. This kind of diet takes a while for your body to get used to it. Now, if you would make a transition and you would start eating only this kind of food, like ketogenic vegan, I would say that after 7 weeks, you'd probably be alright. Because the ginger and the garlic would take care of most of the fungi in your system. You wouldn't even have to do an anorganic sulfur detox. That's what I did once. And that just assists your body in getting rid of a lot of fungi. And anybody can look that up, that anorganic sulfur can be used, according to Dr. Probst, who I believe is a German. Now this is mustard seeds, yellow mustard seeds. That is also antiviral, fungal, bacterial, right? All the stuff that helps your body to fight against viruses and things. And that helps me because I mostly eat like this. This is curry powder. I'm just using it up. Because a curry powder is a mixture of different spices depending on, right? Sometimes they're a little bit more spicy. Sometimes they're a little bit more sweet. Sometimes they're yellow. Garam masala is also a type of curry powder, but I'm actually not quite sure. Because maybe in order to be called curry powder, it has to have curry leaves in there. That's actually possible. Because you have also different spice blends, such as garam masala, you know, these kind of things. Which to us would be more like Christmas flavored spices, but I eat these all year round. Right, I eat nutmeg all year round, I eat cardamom all year round, I eat cinnamon all year round. I do not discriminate them as Christmas foods. Yeah, especially then because they would only eat them in sweet foods. Now, I've said to you a lot of important things. You can just experiment, right? You could make such a meal and you could just see how it makes you feel. And the first times you would eat something like this, I can almost guarantee you would probably feel terrible. Unless you're used to it. And if you would be used to, like me, to eating a lot of sugar, this is like going cold turkey. This is like if you would stop eating sugar and cornflakes and gluten and all these baking products, yeah, and start eating such a diet, then this is like a heroin addict who stops taking heroin. And this is what it means to go cold turkey, which means you may start sweating in the night. You may feel like you're about to go insane. You will have severe sugar cravings. You may even start shaking. Yeah, you may have like cold spasms and also feel intense heat. These are all symptoms of withdrawal. Because sugar is basically heroin. Most people, they underestimate in the way in which sugar works, and also the reasons why the industry puts it in everything is of course to keep you hooked on it. I mean, if you see a child that eats sugar for the first time, their eyes are going like, whoa, right? They just take it all in. Because it's highly addictive. And this is something we should be conscious about. But people don't really talk about it. They don't talk about the effect of sugar on the body. All they talk about is vaccinations. And I don't even have to talk about corona or anything. All I have to say is that diet is one of the most important factors when you want to have a healthy life to also an old age. And diet stands in connection with depression, with just physical mobility, right? If you eat this standard Western diet, which is a lot of bread, maybe a lot of pasta, right? A lot of gluten-containing foods, a lot of meat, and you drink a lot of coffee, then your body is really acidic. And that means that when you would start eating a ketogenic vegan diet or vegetarian, and you would stop, for instance, drinking coffee, that your body would start detoxing also on excess acid that's in your system. And that means your pee will become very sour, because what happens if your body has been acidic for a long time is that it stores the acid in the body because it doesn't know what else to do with it. So if you often have heartburn, it means you are already too acidic, which means you should start thinking about changing your diet to a more ketogenic vegetarian or vegan diet. Meat is highly acidic, coffee is highly acidic, black tea is also quite still acidic. What else is acidic? Sugar, all these flours, all these baking things. Eat more vegetables. Sometimes start fasting, try intermittent fasting. But also that, I can only talk for myself. This is not something I did overnight. I started probably 2014, I started figuring out my diet. And it took me until now to get rid of most of my quirks. So I can eat sugar sometimes, but I'm also okay if I don't eat it for a couple of days. I can drink coffee sometimes, but I'm also okay if I don't drink it for a month. I do sometimes have still symptoms of withdrawal, but I know now why they are there. So there's just this way of conscious eating that is important. Not just, of course, eating, but being conscious about how you feel in general. And when I see people eating bread and having this kind of yeast diet and bread and flour and sugar and coffee, they just look already dead to me. They are so bloated, they cannot even think straight. There's a German book and it says, bread makes stupid. And it's true, it's the truth. It really makes you retarded. It makes you retarded. And of course, some may even say that that's the desired state of people that live in an industrial society, because people don't want you to think, they just want you to buy. If you feel bad, right? They want you to buy things. They don't want you to think about how can I eat a healthy diet. Because if you are happy and healthy, you don't run to doctors and you don't go around wasting your time on Netflix because you'd rather read a good book in the evening. And that's basically all there is to say about this. And this, I believe... Just a second. Whew. I also have to say I haven't really eaten food like this in a while. So also to me, it will take some time to get used to this. Because I have eaten a lot of oats. And I have eaten still a lot of sugar. And I have drunk a lot of coffee. So I'm now, because now I have my own kitchen, yeah, very simplistic. But I can at least work towards, and I know already how to eat, and that is a huge advantage to most people. I already know what to eat in order to get rid of all these fungi in my system. I also know that, yeah, if I stop eating sugar today, or if I stop drinking coffee today, I already know that probably tomorrow I will have a headache, I will have cravings, yeah, I will be restless, I probably won't sleep, and I will be running around like a caged animal or something, yeah, trying to look for a way out. So I've had a lot of time in dealing with this, and this is basically what you must figure out for yourself if you are interested in this other way of life. Because this kind of food is not like this kind of coffee, sugar, bread kind of diet, which is just supposed to keep you going and make you super fast. This is more like you have to take your time to cook this. Even though it's a simple meal, you take your time, you stir, yeah, and you just let it sizzle a little, which is also for me now, it's a practice again, because I haven't really done this in a while. Because I just didn't like cooking very much with my parents, that's just the truth. Just didn't like standing there cooking a lot, because people come in, they look at my food, and when they look at it, they also judge it in a way. Yeah, then people walk around. You know, my father isn't shy about farting, and when I'm cooking and he walks in the kitchen and just drops a fart, I just lose my appetite. So I was mostly cooking, just like getting a bowl of oats and then vanishing in my room. So I didn't really cook a lot of food. But now I'm starting, and I'm also starting to like this. I'm warming up to Christopher's own kitchen, yeah, in the apartment that is, at the moment at least, still being paid by his parents, that at one point hopefully will change. Anything else? I think I have it all in there. Now the onion and the garlic, for the moment, I will put it in here, because I just want to have it, that it's at least a little bit shaded from the sun. Yes, so the garlic is a little bit burned. You can certainly taste that. But it tastes alright. I mean, good, right? It's like probably what I should say. Oh, it tastes amazing. Now I can think about, am I missing something? And the answer is no. Yeah, maybe. Just a second. Okay, have a little bit of radish. Yeah, I was wondering already how I would use it. This is how this looks. Now for the radish, I'm just going to see, because you can eat this perfectly raw. Now I just try to wash this off. This seems to be alright. I can take the peel off a little if I feel like I want to cleanse this. Now it's really crazy because I don't have internet at the moment, and constantly images of movies pop up in my mind. Now you see how this also, I'm literally doing a movie detox because I don't have internet, I cannot watch movies. It's like I'm cold, really cold turkey. I mean, this is how detox works. So if you have no internet, you may also go through severe withdrawal symptoms, and that's what I'm having. Yeah. You see, this is a little bit nicer for me. Oh wow. A lot of these foods sometimes also have a lot of like a bitter taste. Now how am I going to eat this? So I don't have a plate. You know, this is just basically showing you how simple your meal can be. And this basically eradicates all excuses you can have for not cooking. You know, I don't have this. Yeah, you can say, I don't have a proper knife, but you don't need a proper knife, right? You just need something. Now, this is very basic, because I don't really have cutlery, but this is really nice. So I can just make a basic meal out of this, which I'm also going to eat with this spoon, I believe. Wow. So now if I want to, yeah, I can say I'm just going to slice this really fine, or as fine as I can manage, into fine cubes, actually. Yeah, because at the moment I don't have a fridge, so I don't want to open. I have some jars with something like pesto in it, but I'm afraid that if I open that now, yeah, it will probably would hold for a day, but I'll just wait, and I can also eat that for breakfast if I want to. But for now, I would say that's okay for me. So this just adds a little bit of crunch to my food, and it also gives me, yeah, something to chew on. Wow. But it does have a certain bitterness to it. Okay. Now, because this is kind of, it's like anti-stick, I don't want to use metal with it, so I have to use the wooden spoon. Yeah, so this is basil. Of course, you can make pesto with it. I'm going to do that another time. And there you go. That's a very simple meal. I'm gonna eat it alone. That's just how it is. Yeah. But sometimes it's also a challenge. So I'm just gonna retreat to my living room. I'm gonna turn off the lights here. So, right, I can just sit like this in a squat. And then I can just say, cheers. And I get it, sometimes it feels a bit lonely. And then you ask yourself, why should I make a meal for myself? That's just something that you have to get used to. Because you should have every reason to cook for yourself. This is nice. Alright. What I like to do when I sit here and it gets awfully boring, just sitting here in silence, is I just let my mind wander. I sit here and I chew, and I take this as a sort of practice for active meditation. Which means I sit here and I chew, and while I'm chewing, and I'm trying not to bite my tongue or something, but I'm just chewing until it's like a paste in my mouth, and then I swallow it. And I just let I just take a bite, and I chew, and I let my mind wander freely. And I feel like it goes in all kinds of directions. Sometimes it goes to ideas that I have, or projects, or things I could do later. I'm not overly fussy about. What I find important, that if you sit here and eat, then you eat. You're not going to watch a movie. You're not going to be with your phone, right? Just when I was sitting here, I had this vision of rushing to the phone and putting it on silent. But that doesn't really matter. Because when you sit here and you eat and somebody calls you, then you just let the phone ring. And you just keep eating as though nothing's happening, right? This might be like a bee, right? So that you can start seeing the sound of the phone as a natural sound. This is a very natural eating position. Your stomach can hang freely, right? There's also space here, right? This is also, it's natural. Your back can actually relax. This is also a position that you have to get used to. Like, this takes a while to get used to it, but it's absolutely worth it. Because you don't need chairs anymore. It doesn't mean that I don't sit. I do sit, and I lean against walls, but I try to sit as little as possible. Right? If I'm somewhere else, I also sit on a chair, but I'm trying to really avoid that. So if I'm on my own, there are no chairs in this room. There are no chairs, and there will never be chairs. And if somebody would give me a chair, I would say, take it back with you, because I have no need for this. I will make myself some sort of table just at this kind of height, because if I'm eating on a carpet, yeah, the chance that that keeps getting dirty is very high. And I probably also would prefer to make the kitchen also the eating room. So I would have a corner in there that's meant for eating. So this is more like the social, I'm doing crochet kind of room. And this is my I sleep and I work kind of room, which is a weird mixture. But yeah, that's just what happens if you have limited space. I can sometimes sleep here if I want. But this is also a nice room. It's kind of at the end of it's not a room that people just come in and walk through, right? I can close that door and say, this is my private room. This is not your hangout room, which is something that I find important. Yeah, so while I'm sitting here, I can let my mind wander. And when a thought comes, such as, did you do this? Did you do that? Instead of feeling like, oh my God, and then you stop eating and you run towards doing it, you just make a note in your mind and you just accept it, the feeling of urgency, and you realize, I'm taking my time. And that's a form of practice. So when you look at the Zen philosophy, when it says, when you're hungry, you eat, and when you're tired, you sleep, that means when you're hungry, you eat, and then you eat, right? And while you're eating, you're eating. And when you're tired, you sleep, which is you sleep. You don't try to extend it by drinking coffee or watching movies and trying to be awake as long as you can so that you can watch as many movies as possible, right? I mean, the idea is that if you're tired, you sleep. When you're hungry, you eat. But for that, you have to start connecting to your natural self, to your intuition, to your gut feeling. And your gut feeling has a lot to do with what you eat. And if you're being basically marionetted through life by your desire for eating sugar, because these fungi in your colon and in your entire system, they need a lot of sugar, believe me. And if you don't eat sugar for 2 hours, they're gonna get angry. So this feeling of getting hangry can also be that there's actually a fungus or bacteria that sends you signals and that say, we need sugar, we need sugar. It's like, we're dying in here, you need to eat sugar, right? You know, this is how it works. They grow into your brain. And it even said, right, I mean, the gut or the colon, it says it's the second brain. And a lot of people are being steered from there. So this is an area where you should definitely look into if you feel often bloated or heavy. Then you should look into your diet. Experiment. Just stop eating gluten for 7 weeks and see how it changes. Just try a ketogenic diet for 8 weeks or 7 weeks and just see how it changes. And then if you want, you can just eat whatever you want afterwards, but pay attention to your thoughts. So in the 7 weeks that you eat ketogenic, right, in whatever way that works for you, what you could do is, right, it doesn't have to be vegan or vegetarian, but already the change to ketogenic, you know, ketogenic can also still have meat in it, right? Can have cheese in it and stuff. That's your choice. Can have eggs in it. That's your choice, right? What I would suggest is that you take notes, right? How do you feel after 1 week? What kind of thoughts do you have, right? How motivated do you feel? You know, what other kind of ideas do you start having? And then it's probably advisable also in these 7 weeks to try and drink a little bit less coffee. And then to just make a comparison. How do I feel now after 7 weeks of ketogenic diet? And then maybe, yeah, if you like to experiment, you can try to eat that again, right? Because if you still feel a really heavy desire to eat, yeah, bread and stuff, you can start eating it again, but then pay attention. How does it make you feel if you eat more pasta, more starch-containing foods, more sugar, more gluten-containing foods? How do you feel after the meal? Do you have still the same kind of energy? Right? Always make comparisons. And that's what helped me to realize I don't eat bread anymore. I don't eat wheat anymore. You know, that for me is an absolute no-go. I try to stay away. You know, I don't eat rice a lot. I will occasionally eat rice, but I try to eat more foods like beans. Yeah, this kind of stuff. But it takes time. It takes time. Never underestimate how much mental strength it takes to change your diet. This is not supposed to be only temporary. This is supposed to be for the rest of your life. So you have to figure out what kind of diet works for you specifically. This is really individual. Maybe for you, you really like drinking coffee every day, and maybe it works for you perfectly. If I drink coffee every day, I'm more prone to heartburn because coffee is really acidic. I have more problems with diarrhea, and I also like to eat more like sugar and things. You know, there seems to be a connection because coffee also burns energy really fast. And that means it maybe makes me awake right now and helps me to work in a frenzy, but also comes with a cost, which means I'm generally more agitated, I'm a little bit more prone to anger. It certainly does something with the root chakra, right? So that's just things that you have to pay attention to. I paid attention to them a lot, and I realized that while sometimes coffee can help me to push myself through a motivational depression, it can push me through that after a while the cost of drinking coffee becomes too great and it outweighs the benefits. So occasionally a coffee is really nice. You know, I have nothing against that. But if you drink it every day, which is something that happens really easily, it makes you lazy. Because coffee is a very strong psychedelic beverage. It alters your consciousness. It brings you from a state of more like tired relaxation towards riled up, charged, whatever. But it's this kind of explosive outlet of energy that throws you out of balance, because the energy that's being released all at once and that makes you feel really powerful is going to be missing after a while. And if you do this every day, yeah, you're going to be like all these people that have burnout because they're just running on empty. They have no energy in themselves anymore. The only energy they have is what they get through the food that they eat. And so they eat a lot of sugar, yeah? They drink a lot of these carbonated drinks, which is also making you really acidic. And they drink coffee, because coffee is like petrol. If you put petrol on fire, you may have a lot of heat in the moment, but it also burns your wood much faster. If you want to have a good fire with strong coal, yeah, you don't take pine, yeah, which pine has a lot of resin in there, and resin you may say is sugar. You know, you don't take that. You may, you know, you better take oak or birch or beech, yeah. When you burn that, you have a nice fire. The heat will keep going for a while and you will have good coals. So eating rice and eating all this starch and sugar and all this flour bakery stuff is basically like having a fire that's only working with pine and spruce trees. Yeah, and then drinking coffee is like pouring petrol on that. You know, that's just something I would like to say. Yeah. So when you have a good fire going, you know, you can add spruce. And then sometimes it gives it a little boost. And that's with this kind of diet, right? If you have mostly a ketogenic diet, you can once in a while eat sugar, but just be aware that sugar is highly addictive and that we tend to use sugar to make ourselves feel good, just as watching porn or masturbation or looking at women's cleavages, yeah, or buying cars or shopping. You know, these things we use to make ourselves feel good. This means that we use something from the outside to make ourselves feel good, but what we are aiming for in spirituality is to have the feeling of I feel good always inside of us. You carry your light in your heart, and this warms you. This is the food that assists you with that. A diet that's based on bread and sugar, yeah, also honey and coffee, is a diet that will make you depressed, because this food will never warm your heart. It will just keep you going until you die. Yeah, and life will be a drag. This was longer than expected, certainly. Just want to check. Oh yeah. 1 hour 10. Anyway, I liked it. This was my first cooking movie, you can already call that. Yeah. Let's see how many people are gonna watch that. Doesn't really matter. Most of the cooking was in the beginning, which is probably good. I don't think most people have the stamina to sit through the eating phase. They might just skip through it because they're high on sugar and coffee, and they're like, what is this guy taking so long? Why is he chewing so slowly? Can't he eat any faster and get over with it? That was basically my second girlfriend, right? She literally got angry at me for eating too slowly. But I had really heavy heartburn, so I was just trying things. And one of them was learning to chew slower. So I started counting always to 30. Yeah. And after I did that for a while, I realized I'm just gonna chew till it's a pulp in my mouth. Yeah, and that takes a lot of practice. But once you can do that, you also don't have the time to talk anymore, right? So if I sit and I eat, I generally don't talk. I just sit there and eat because eating keeps me so busy. And everybody's like, and then they talk at the same time and they basically swallow half-chewed food. And then they're wondering why their digestion is really bad. Yeah, and why they are farting a lot. Because they just, yeah. It's stupid. People are real idiots. Yeah, they're so insecure. When they sit together, they don't know, how to be silent. People just don't know how to shut the fuck up. And that's why, thank you for listening.